outdoor air so polluted it can cause serious physical damage, including harming their developing brains. Nearly 1 child in 7 around the globe breathes outdoor air that is at least 6 times dirtier than international guidelines. The UN Children's Fund says air pollution is a leading factor in child mortality.
Wearing surgical masks has become a norm in China, even for babies, and for a good reason. According to UNICEF, around 2 billion children worldwide live in areas where outdoor air pollution exceeds international limits. Some 300 million, or almost 1 in 7 children, are breathing extremely toxic air, with pollution levels 6 times above guidelines set by the World Health Organization. The impact on their health and growth is a major concern.
A child breathes twice as rapidly as an adult, which means it inhales much more air in proportion to its body mass than an adult. A child's respiratory tracts are also much more permeable than those of an adult. On top of that, it has been proven that small particles linked to air pollution can affect a child's brain, which is still developing.
This map, derived from satellite imagery, shows pollution levels around the world. Children in the developing world, with high emission levels from factories, power stations and road traffic, are most exposed to outdoor pollution. The WHO has found that in 2012, some 127,000 children under the age of 5 died from outside air pollution, while 531,000 died from household air pollution, especially in areas where coal and wood are commonly used for heating and cooking. Together, they account for 1 in 10 under 5 deaths. UNICEF is calling on world leaders to take urgent action to cut air pollution in their countries ahead of the COP22 climate conference in Marrakesh, Morocco, that's set to start on the 7th of November.
Alarming images, alarming statistics there. Let's bring in Nicolas Rees to talk about this, policy specialist at UNICEF. Nicolas, thank you very much for being with us. What is to be done about this crisis?
Well, I think it's quite a big crisis, and so I think a lot needs to be done. Actually, one of the key things is really fossil fuel emissions and the pollution that type of activity causes, and especially on the eve of COP22, I think this is a particularly pertinent time. Reducing fossil fuel emissions and actions that reduce fossil fuel emissions will go a long way to obviously reducing the greenhouse gases that cause climate change and we'll see and some of the worst impacts on children of climate change, but it also matters a lot for children's health, as this report shows. And so I think that there's a lot can be done in terms of that, but I think even at a city level and at a national level, better public transport, cleaner energy options, I think a lot of that can go a long way in terms of reducing the types of pollutants that a lot of children are exposed to.
And these measures that you're talking about, they're measures that ordinary people really can't implement. It needs government policy. It needs the people in charge to actually make a decision and say, this is the way we are going.
It's definitely going to require government policy, but that's not to say that there isn't a lot that people can do. I think that a lot of action, it does start with people and people's choices in terms of what they decide to do and how they decide to travel and consume, and I think that can make a difference. But there are also a few other things that I think that are important in terms of how people respond to high levels of air pollution. One is knowledge of the levels of air pollution. People can take individual actions to prevent exposure and prevent children's exposure. Where polluting sources are built, are they built near areas where children live, play, and learn? Those are the types of decisions that I think can prevent exposure. And then also, I think, the impacts of air pollution on children's health can certainly lead to mortality and death, but it also leads to bad health. Improving children's overall health can go a long way in terms of building their resilience to the impacts of air pollution. So there's a lot that can be done in addition to reducing pollution overall, for sure.
Nicolas Rees of UNICEF, thank you very much indeed for your analysis.
Sure.
Well, let's now bring you trick or